Hey everybody, it's Susan. I have not done a live in a while, so I thought I would hop on. I had some things I was thinking about that I'd like to share, but I also thought I'd share a little personal. If you have been following stories, then you know at the beginning of the month, we actually found a wedding dress for my oldest daughter for her wedding next May, so that was exciting. She looks really pretty in it. And my little turned 16 at the beginning of the month too, so that's a huge thing. I sometimes feel like I just had her, so 16 is like a monumental change. Anyway, what I wanted to talk about is something that we get a lot of questions about. And this happens honestly weekly. Who do you hire first? Who do you bring on board first? Do you bring on board an interior designer? Or a team like mine where we specialize in architectural interior design. We do full scope interior design as well, so it's not to say we don't specialize in that. It's just that we typically are working with the architect and on the front end all the way through a project. So our projects often last a year and a half to 2.5 years. So my perspective on it is that you could hire the architect first. You could also hire a builder first. But the best way to do it, in my opinion, is to hire an interior designer who does specialize in architecture and architectural interior design to work with the architect as part of a team. Architects typically are looking at the plot plan. They are looking at the topography. They want to make sure that they can accommodate everything that you want within the square footage on the allotted amount of space that they've got on your lot. They often will forget about things that are important, that are functional to the way that we live today. So what I often see when I'm reviewing plans, if I have not been brought in on the front end, I find that there are linen closets missing. I find that often laundry rooms are not just kind of secondary, because we always start with our primary spaces, secondary spaces, and then to me that's a tertiary space. And that goes all the way back to the basics of interior design. When we were starting a project from scratch, where we start working out all the details with bubble diagrams and then move into block diagrams, and then we start working on square footage and kind of massaging the block that we've got, and then we can really start to kind of like hone in on what the floor plan needs to look like. So that's typically the same type of thing an architect is going to do, but you're always looking for adjacencies when you're looking at things from that perspective. So I do find that some of those things are overlooked. We also end up with things like window placement. Those types of things are important to the exterior of the home, and the architect is obviously thinking about that because they're planning what the exterior is going to look like or what it needs to look like. But when it comes to the interior of the space, that particular space, whether it's a bathroom or a bedroom, they haven't necessarily considered the window placement and how that impacts the function of that interior space. So, going back to who do you bring on first? So having a team from the beginning is really the best approach, and an architect can start to pencil things out, but before they get too far into the process, really it's a good idea to have a team like ours come on board where we can sit down and really look for deficiencies in the space. I have a project we're working on right now, and I pushed an entire side of the house out by 3 feet because the kitchen just did not have enough room in it. After I sat down and talked to our clients and really found out how they want to use the space, how they need to function in the space, for the way they entertain, it was not going to accommodate everything they needed to. And we've made other changes after that. So on that particular project, the clients I met with this morning, we started with a set of plans probably about 5 weeks ago, and I sat down and redlined everything with them. And it was a lot. There was a lot structurally that was going to have to be changed to make the plans work for the way that they wanted to. And even then, we weren't able to do some things that they really wanted. So they took a step back and revisited the architectural plans and came back with another set of plans. So this morning, we sat down and really redlined everything. And we were able to look at the function of each space and is it going to work? And so there are tweaks that we've had to make. We have had to redline some things and flip some things around in bathrooms, for example. The laundry room really wasn't large enough to accommodate what they need. So we had to expand the laundry room a little bit. And The husband actually is in commercial construction, so he had a suggestion to kind of push into the garage, which is on the other side of the wall. So we pushed into the garage and expanded it, but we were able to really sit down and ask a lot of questions about, or I was able to ask a lot of questions about what they need and how they need that space to function. So that works out well on the front end if you can do all of that. We do often work with clients who have already purchased a home, and we are coming in after the fact to add architectural embellishments so that we can kind of create some architectural features, which is an important part of making a home yours. One of the things I tell our clients all the time is that I don't care about your neighbor or your mom or your best friend, because we're not designing a house for them. We're designing a house for our client. And it has to function at the highest and best use for them in the way that they want to live in the space. And I get really excited when we do that. And when we get to the end of a project and it is everything that they wanted it to be, then I just cry most of the time. Most of the time I cry. My clients will tell you that I often get very teary because I am so happy for them. And, most everybody works, so hard to be able to have the things that they want and to be able to bring together a team to build a home or buy a home and then come in and customize it. So it's just a really, wonderful thing to get to be part of the process. So the other thing I wanted to touch on is I had a call with a potential client, and she asked a lot of these questions, even though they're in an existing home that they've just purchased and moved into. Homeowners still want something that is going to function at the highest possible best use of whatever it is, the room, the furniture piece. So we do the same thing. We take the same approach that we do on the construction end, and we work through the process of, what's working well and what isn't working well, and let's program these spaces. So, in some cases, we're able to sit down. We've got a client right now where we're going into their office space, and we're also creating a bar for them. So they're going to have this kind of half of the room is going to be dedicated to being office space during the day. But we're also doing like some cool lighting so that it can establish a mood for the evening. And we are moving the bar from what the builder had planned, which was their kitchen area, and into this space so that guests can serve themselves and they can be removed from the kitchen where our clients need to function and cook and all of those great things. So it pretty much across the board, it applies to everything. Furniture. We have a lot of clients that entertain a lot. They have children, they have pets. We always want to make sure that we are accommodating all of the needs of our clients. And I do believe also in a mix of high-low. I don't think that everything that goes into a home has to be the most expensive. I do think that you have to have investment pieces to make sure that you have a really good foundation. And then you mix other things in that are things that aren't getting as much use. So upholstery, for example, that's a really important thing that should be an investment piece. On the construction end, what we really want to see appliances. Appliances really need to be an investment. You want to make sure that you're putting something in the kitchen that you're going to love, especially if you cook a lot, that you can cook on, that is going to hold up well, that is going to have, great warranties on it. A lot of the lines that people hear of are not necessarily some of the best lines depending on how you're going to use your space. One of the things that is now out on the market, it has been for quite a while, it just wasn't very popular, is induction cooking. We've got several clients that are actually doing induction ranges now. Thermador just introduced a full induction range, which I was really happy to see because induction is a very eco-friendly way to cook. It doesn't put out CO2. The entire surface doesn't heat up. It heats the pot. It cooks like gas. It's easy to clean, easy to maintain. So again, an investment piece. So when I start talking about, these things with clients and talking through these with them as far as who do you bring on when, a builder is not going to give you that information. You hire a builder first. They're going to tell you, go do selections, and they're not going to be able to guide you through that process. Neither is an architect. Now, an architect can plan on the floor plan for your range, but they also are going to kind of do things that don't really work from a functional perspective. They might put, the range in a portion of what they think is the center of the kitchen. And then, this morning when we were reviewing plans, the sink was like pushed off to the side of the island. There was no center line established. The range was pushed off to kind of match the center of that. But when I start looking at other things on the floor plan, I was quickly could make suggestions about moving things around. So really what we ended up doing is pushing a doorway down that leads to the pantry and what we are turning into a butlery scullery, pushing that doorway down so we can actually move the sink and the range onto a center line where you actually have nice space on each side of the sink and the range. And that's just so much more functional. The other thing this plan had was an oven in a hallway pass-through. And I know that sometimes when architects or draftsmen are actually looking at plans and they're trying to accommodate everything, they think, hey, this is a great idea. Let's throw this oven into this hallway. They're not using it very often. However, when your hallway is only 32 inches wide and you put an oven into that and you've got to open that oven door, and let's say it's Thanksgiving and you want to come to the oven with a big turkey to put it in, well, there's not enough room for you now. You can't open that door and stand behind the door with the rack pulled out to put the turkey on top of the rack and push it back in. You're trying to approach it from the side now, and those suckers are heavy. So, those are the kinds of things that can be avoided if you bring on board, an interior designer at the beginning and you have your architect in place so that you can work through all those things. Because again, the builder's not going to tell you that. They just aren't. The builders that I work with, again, our projects take 1.5 to 2.5 years. They want everything turned over to them. We want to put together a complete package. So really there are very few questions for them. They can go into their pricing process to put together their contract and the cost of the build or the renovation, and they are not having to continually come back and ask questions. They're not also delaying the process. Clients that don't bring a designer on board, actually it takes a lot longer to build or renovate your house. Unfortunately, you don't have someone to walk you through the process and kind of push you to make decisions. And the longer it takes you to make decisions, the longer it takes to complete your project. So, you could be delaying your project by 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks. I've had clients that won't make decisions and the process is delayed by 2 or 3 months. And that really is not good for anybody, because we would really like to get these homes, we want to get them built. We want to get everything in. And we're not in COVID right now. So we are still seeing shortages on materials, but not like we were. So obviously there's things we want to pull the trigger on up front. But anyway, so that's my 2 cents for the day after having a couple meetings. And I am always happy to answer questions. And I see... Hey, Lacey. Like I said, I'm always happy to answer questions, and you can DM me or you can shoot an email over. And I'm going to try to hop on and do more lives. I kind of stopped doing them after my girlfriend passed away. It was just a little bit difficult for me to kind of get on and, in my grief and try to be upbeat and, share information. But anyway, so I am back to being able to do that. So I hope that I can continue to share, good information with you guys. So anyway, I'm going to try to, they've changed this a little bit, so I have to try to figure out how to turn this off. But I hope everybody's having a good Tuesday, and have a great rest of the week. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.